Hi, I'm Sherri.
And I'm Lana.
And this is Real Estate Tips with SNL.
Okay, today we have the famous Laura B.
Yay!
And I want you to introduce yourself, and then we're going to get into a lot of real estate stuff. So,
Wonderful. Well, thank you for having me. I was excited about coming today.
And this is amazing because we have the famous, the one and only.
I know.
It's hard to get you. You're so busy, and I think you have so much to talk about, but I really think I have heard it, but I want the listeners to hear your background, where you came from.
Who is Laura B?
Who are you?
Who is Laura B?
So I was introduced to real estate probably prenatally. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
My mom was a real estate agent. She's actually still a real estate agent.
Really?
And
At what age?
Oh, she would kill me if I
she
told
would kill her.
She would kill me. So I won't say that, but she is still working very successfully.
Yeah.
And my grandfather was a conveyancing lawyer. He was a real estate attorney. And actually, when I was in high school, my job was to work with him in the summer. So I would get the files ready for closings, and I'd hear things like pre-approvals and mortgages and deeds. And
know that.
I started very young. And then I actually got my license when I was in college. And I did it just sort of on a whim because my mom had her own real estate office and was going in for a little bit of surgery. And she said, why don't you get your license and you can help me in the office for a couple of weeks? Well, a couple of weeks turned into many, many decades later. And it just is funny how it twists and turns, but I've been grateful to be able to help so many people and to have so many great relationships with agents, with buyers, with sellers, with bankers, with so many relationships that have been my finest and deepest have come from my career.
You know, I've heard a lot of people who've wanted to bring in a daughter or a son into the business. My daughter, I asked her to get licensed, which she did, and to work as my assistant. And it wasn't a match. I think that one day she just said to me, "Mom, I really hate real estate." And I've heard other people say that they've had those sort of experience as well. And here you are, the success story, and clearly a success story. And
I too had my daughter work as my assistant, and she was with me for 4 years, and I loved it, and she did not. And it just, I think that she does like real estate, but it was the daily minutia of dealing with people, the paperwork, the taking suggestions from her mother.
Oh, yeah.
It was
a little bit of that, too, with my daughter and I.
How are you and your mom? Like, when you were working together, did you guys do this? Like, did she dictate, or you just started building your career from there? Or did she, you were just like an assistant?
No, it was very much her office. She had established herself. She had a very, very successful office in Medford. And I started as her working for her. And then as I became more experienced and more confident and developed my own client base, it became more collaborative. I left my mom after 16 years of working with her to move to where I live now, which is in Carlisle. And there was two driving forces. One was my son had some significant learning disabilities, and we were looking for a school system that had a really strong special ed department. And my husband was a horse lover and had horses and was renting space in barns for his horses. And we said, wouldn't this be great if we could meld the both together? And we did. And we had a great experience living in Carlisle. And I started after 16 years at a new office and a new market, but a much more expensive market. But what I learned was that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your house is on the low end or the extremely high end. A home is a home, and a home is very, very special to you, no matter how much you paid. Mm-hmm. And buyers at every price range have similar needs and concerns. So it was fun to move into this area and see homes that were so beautiful and whatnot. But I found there was more similarities than differences.
All right. How many years have you been licensed, and how many years have you been with Coldwell Banker?
So I've been with Coldwell Banker for 30 years, and actually that's sort of not true. I've sat in the same seat for 30 years, and the sign keeps changing.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So our company was acquired a few times before it became Coldwell Banker, and I believe it's been a little bit over 20 years it's been Coldwell Banker, and when it started to be Coldwell Banker, I thought, oh boy, this feels big and corporate, and this might not be the right fit. And everything I feared was just unfounded fear. And it's been a wonderful fit, and I've enjoyed working for Coldwell Banker.
So my thought as you're talking about this is how much knowledge you have about the market. You made a little comment about, and it was a new market and it's a different market, but we call this a bell curve, going up and down in real estate constantly. You started, did you say college? You started, yeah.
When I started, the interest rates were 18%.
Yes. Yep.
I had no knowledge of what I was even doing, but I knew that I was supposed to sell houses. The people in my mom's office were very discouraged because the rates were so high, and they played solitaire and with real cards. And I thought, I don't think my mother would be happy to know this.
Right.
So I didn't know it was a bad market, and I didn't know 18% was a ridiculous rate. So I sort of just had that belief that you were supposed to sell houses, and I did.
Right. So that's what I'm thinking is here you are also a consumer, right? Because you were just starting out learning, okay, this is real estate. So you coming in at 18%, but then all of a sudden you probably saw this and this and this and this, right? The bell curve. So what constant that you see since you started till now, like what continues to remain the same in real estate?
That's a really good question, Lana. There's so many things that have changed, but the one thing that has not changed, will never change, is that it's a relationship business. That it's really about belly to belly with people. It's really about gaining their trust, imparting your wisdom and your knowledge and your advice. And that you can't get in a computer. You can't develop a relationship online without having a connection.
So let's break that down, because I know a lot of consumers that start out, or our listeners that are hearing, they're like thinking of selling or buying for the first time. They don't know what does a relationship mean with an agent, right? Because with an attorney or an accountant or any other profession, you're just kind of going there to get the service, right? But there's not really an emotion attached in the sense of this huge financial.
Well, I think it's more like going to your doctor or your dentist. It's like when you go to your dentist, there's a certain fear element,
Yeah.
Is this going to be just a cleaning, or is this going to be, oh my God, I need implants? So you're not sure, right? And I do think, I know myself, that when I have a relationship with somebody personal like that, I really don't care how much they know. I want to know they care. And I want to know that they have my best interest at heart. And I want to trust them. So I do think people, when they enter into the largest financial decision of their lives, they want to feel that this person is not in it just for a commission.
Right.
That they're in it because they care about me. They're in it because they know that this is not just a one-and-done relationship, that I'm going to be moving up in a few years or moving down in a few years, or referring my parents or my children or whatever, that this is really going to be your family realtor, that this is somebody, when you sell your house and they say to you, all the buyers don't like it because the bedrooms are too small, you're not going to say to them, but you didn't tell me that when I bought the house. That's a discussion we've already had. There will be no surprises when they sell it or when they buy it. And it's fiduciary and it's confidential, and you want to demonstrate that. I always say that I'm like the Pope. What you say to me, I don't tell anybody. And I work in a very small town, and I have that reputation. And I do. I take people's confidentiality very seriously, because when you buy or when you sell, there's a lot of emotion on both sides. There's a lot of happiness and there's a lot of sorrow. And sometimes both people are happy. Sometimes only one person's happy, one person's very sad. There's a lot of reasons why we come to the closing table. And I think you just always have to be mindful of where that person is.
And we're all human beings. So what you're describing, I think we as their real estate agents, we're feeling that emotional tug as well. It's hard to spend a lot of time with a client and not feel that draw. Right. And you want to protect them. You want to look out for them. So I feel like the trust, once the relationship is established, should fall into place pretty easy if you're with the right people.
Right. And it's a mutual trust relationship.
Yes.
I don't want to work with people that I don't trust either.
Yeah.
I want to work with people that I am in harmony with, that I feel that I can help them.
Right.
I mean, there's some people who I think might be better suited with somebody else. And I'm very comfortable referring them because their time is valuable and my time is valuable.
Right.
And I'm very protective of my time, and I will spend a lot of time helping somebody find or sell their home.
Yes.
But there has to be a lot of dialogue and a lot of transparency.
Agreed. Now, Lana received a question or a topic from one of her connections that had talked about real estate, real versus reality TV. And we were actually joking around a few days ago about some of these reality TV shows like Selling Sunset or something like that. And they had an episode where they were doing a broker's open house in this multi-million-dollar property, and they were offering up burgers and Botox to
I've seen
the
that.
agents.
I've
Yes.
seen that. I've seen it locally too.
Oh gosh. And I mean, I kept thinking, that doesn't happen in our market, and I mean, you're going to get a salad and a sandwich,
Right.
but the
No,
Botox
in my market,
you're
I've
getting
seen
Botox?
not burgers, but Botox.
Oh, geez. All right. Well,
I've never offered that, but I have been invited to that.
really? All
Yes.
right. You're in a higher
Yes.
price point. All right.
So I guess what the question would be that one of the listeners asked was, talk to us about what's real and what's reality.
I know one thing that's definitely real is those women wear very high shoes. That's not real. We wear comfortable shoes.
And a waistline that's this big.
Right.
Yeah.
We are in it to go up and down those stairs
Oh,
and
yes.
walk that yard, and those spiked heels are not the attire.
That's too funny. And they'll walk along the edge of the swimming pool, and
Right.
I'm thinking, girl,
I know.
yeah,
Right.
you're one slip away from a
Right.
blooper.
I think some of the real in our everyday life is that it is every day.
Right.
And it's not, we're going to party and have a great time. It is constant email, texting, checking things, following up. So yes, we want to market the property and maybe host a broker open house or host these open houses, but it's not for us to be looked at and us to show ourselves off, but it is to market the property, right?
So I don't watch a lot of TV, and I don't watch a lot of TV that has real estate agents doing their things because that's what I do all day.
Right.
But I have seen it occasionally, and I have had discussions with clients about it. And one of the things is that they'll be saying, we can remodel this house. We have a budget to remodel of $25,000, and we're going to add a kitchen and a bathroom and central air and a new heating system. And what I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes that is not real. And I also think that, you think, okay, you're going to get cabinets at Home Depot in Massachusetts or cabinets from Home Depot in Idaho. They should be the same cost, right? And maybe they aren't and maybe they are. But what I can tell you is that labor is very different in different states and different communities. So I always worry about the consumer who's watching these shows and they're getting estimates that are so wrong for our market area.
Well,
And
the shows are it's meant to provide entertainment. So they're adding that element to it, which is where the real versus reality TV, right, is very different. But I was thinking. When they're doing these remodels, how come they never know that it's a load-bearing wall? Right, until they broke the thing down. Because
TV.
Contractors know that is, you can't touch that one. That one's a load-bearing wall.
Right.
But yeah, that's going to be an extra $30,000, and it's. But I don't watch a lot of them either, but I have tuned in from time to time, and sometimes you get some really great ideas, and I think a lot of the the design elements are some things that our local buyers and sellers are incorporating because they've seen it on TV. And they think it's great to start bringing in, maybe a lot of those natural woods, and, the modern farmhouse became ridiculously popular. And I think that would have been like that Chip and Joanna Gaines, I can't remember the name of the show, but that, from stuff like that. And people watched it, and all of a sudden everybody wanted to take down their upper cabinets in their kitchen and add some shelving and put some black pipes in there and make it look very
industrial.
And it does look great. I just don't have clean enough cabinetry, items in my cabinet that I would want on display. I need the door closed.
No glass cabinets.
I don't want to organize it that much, but yeah.
Right.
I want to ask a question about real estate on what you think has changed dramatically. And I'm not saying when you first started, but maybe some things that have changed dramatically for the consumer to be aware of. Because, we have people that have owned their properties 15, 20 years, and they said, I bought my house, I know how to do it, right? But what are the things that a buyer or a seller, you've seen the change. We've been in business 20 years too, but you've been in longer. And what are some things that you see that was significantly changed?
Oh, so much has to do with the computer. When I first started, there was no computers. So what happened was we would get a book every Friday, and that book was the multiple listing book. And that was our Bible. So until Friday, we didn't know what the new listings from other agents and other companies were. And then on Friday, we would start making calls. And then we would rely very heavily for the phone to ring on the weekends because we would advertise in the Boston Globe, which we no longer advertise in. But we would advertise in the Globe, and buyers would call and they'd say, I'm calling about the house with the white picket fence. And we were trained not to tell them the address, but we were trained to describe the property, and the goal was to get the appointment. And we would say, at the owner's request, we cannot give you the address. Please meet at the office, and we'll take you to the house. Well, now everything is instantly. We don't have to wait till Friday. We wait seconds to see what the new listings are. The buyers not only know the address, they know how much the seller owes on the property. They know where they went to college. They know what their jobs are. They know the color of their bathrooms. They know a lot of information. But what hasn't changed is what we do with that information. So the buyer is bombarded with information that they can easily navigate through the web, but they know what the neighbor paid. They know what they paid. They know what, everything's happening. But information without clarification is just information.
Right.
And that's where we come in. We come in and we take the information and we say, oh, that information was accurate 6 months ago. It's not accurate today. The market's not goes like this and it doesn't go like that. The market goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So we can translate the information. We can discuss the improvements. Somebody might think, oh, this person paid X amount, another they're asking XX plus plus. Yeah, but did you realize that the cost of a septic system that they installed, the cost of the there's so many things that to be considered. So we interpret the information and we do it quicker, and that in some ways is better, and in some ways it's not so good because everybody thinks they're an expert because they've done all this research.
Well, you've got buyers, I think, because there's so much information available at their fingertips, that then feel as though what do I need an agent for? And I've bought and sold a house before. I don't need an agent, and I think what you just described is spot on, because markets change constantly. How many years ago was it that you bought a house? Are you aware of what today is happening in real estate? And then it goes back to that trust. You don't want to get into a property and then have buyer's remorse because you didn't do your due diligence with the aid of a trusted agent. So
and think about the things that we learn along the way when the markets change. Some of the protection, the negotiation part, that changes quarterly, if not monthly sometimes.
Yes.
I mean, we just went through a whole vast thing. And how do they know that they can ask for certain things or get certain things, or how do you get a protection for this or that? That changes yearly market when there's a change of anything. So it's constant changing of thinking about how to protect your client, but also the negotiation. And how does an individual know how to sell or buy when they don't have that information at hand?
right.
And also, if somebody is following the market and they're looking at recorded data, such as this house in this neighborhood passed papers last week, and this was the house, this is what it sold for, and they're thinking, oh, this is very current, it just closed last week. It's historical. The movement of the market is not on the sales. The movement of the market is what's under agreement.
Yes.
And that sale is historical the day it's posted, because that buying decision was typically made 60 days, maybe 90 days before, and the market moves and it changes. And we know that there was a time where there was multiple offers, over asking prices. People buyers were dropping contingencies that were important, such as home inspections. And a buyer who has lost out might think that they can still no longer ask for things, where we know that the market has changed. So it's really important that you have somebody who has a pulse in the market. The three of us, we eat, breathe, sleep real estate. We can tell when a market is changing, and plus we share information, so we are able to understand, was there multiple offers on that house that's under agreement, and very often we can even find out what it sold for, and sometimes it's dramatically less.
Right.
So a buyer's assumption sometimes is wrong.
Right.
You're right. A lot of the data that comes to a consumer is just taken on that data, but they don't know the back end of it.
Right.
There's so much information on the back end. So that gives another point what real estate has changed. Before you had your book, and then you had the Friday, and now you have all this data, and now you have to decipher and constantly be on top of it as it shifts and change. When people keep coming into your world and say, I want to buy and sell, what's going on constantly. So it's not a 5-day or 4-day job. It is constant to see what's always happening.
It's constantly changing, and knowing the inventory, even when it's not your inventory. And for me, one of the things that is so important to me is to have a good relationship with the broker community.
Yeah.
Because today they may need you, but I guarantee that tomorrow you'll need them. And we all sort of share in the knowledge and the movement of the market, and
Embrace
each other's expertise. Another thing, there's so many things that have changed. Before, when I first came into the business, we would never discuss money, not face-to-face. So if you wanted to make an offer, you needed to come to my office. We needed to discuss it face-to-face. Now, very often, it's DocuSign. It's, we're not face-to-face.
The 3 copies of the purchase and sale, and the check that you hand-delivered to the attorney's office.
Hand-delivered to the attorney's office. And then also, then we graduated to fax. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It was like, wow, this is so easy. But then you don't actually go to the lawyer's office, and you don't actually meet his assistant or her assistant, and you don't, sort of get that feeling of them. And then also, as an agent, if I had an offer on another agent's property, you would never think of not going with that agent to present the offer. Now there's a lot of trust between agents to agents, where you sort of hand over the offer to the other agent, and you trust that they present your offer in a good light. And And that trust is built by time and having transactions with those people and being open to the new people and getting to know them. But things have definitely changed a lot. And again, some things have not changed. And the biggest thing that I can see that hasn't changed is that buying a home is emotional. Buying a home is typically the biggest decision anybody will make. It's also stressful. If you read, studies about what causes stress, it's right up there with death, divorce, suicide. I mean, buying a house is emotional. And though we try to make it very pleasant and happy, there's a lot of stuff going on for people.
Right.
So we have to be mindful of that, and we have to be supportive of that. And
but generally, by the time we get to the closing table, now that's something that's changed too, because I was used to the buyers and sellers being together in one room, and they're both, it's like that big emotional release where this is it. This is what we worked so hard for. And now the sellers are not present. The buyers are there with their attorney, and it's kind of, I don't know, lost the ceremony part
Exactly.
of it. Like, here's your keys.
Right.
You can't have it till you're on record. Never mind. You know.
Yeah, and you don't get the good luck, and we've loved this house.
Right,
And my neighbor
right.
next door is so wonderful,
Yes.
and
Well,
you're
everything is so fast paced right now, right?
right.
Everything is fast paced when you have a buy or sell at the same time. The seller is leaving to go get their other one, and everybody just wants to make the move happen. But the ceremony is gone. I mean,
It
that
is.
piece is
That's
gone.
right, absolutely.
And that's the sad part. But you mentioned something earlier about the whole transaction of everything, and it sounded like more that you were, and I'm not going to say back in the day, but before my time.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the prehistoric days.
I think that you had more one-on-one. Do you feel that your client base is there still from when you first started really building your book of business, so to speak? Are they there? They're probably like your biggest loyal people because you had face-to-face with them versus, technology has changed for us. What, text, FaceTime, everything. I mean, there was times that we were virtually selling stuff, right? There was a little period of time that I had to virtually sell property. And so do you have that base? I mean, you must have that.
I have been so grateful. I have been so lucky. I think I'm the luckiest person in the world in so many ways. But when I was in college, it was really hard. I was 18 years old. And it was really hard to go into what was a luxury property at that time and convince a seller who's, the age of my parents that I'm the person to sell their home. But it was easy to convince my college friends that when they rented an apartment, I would help them find an apartment. So I started doing that. And then those friends and those acquaintances referred other people. And then they got engaged and they bought their first house or their first condo. And then they had a baby and then they bought a bigger house. And then their kids grew up and then they found they needed a smaller house. And then their kids needed houses. So I've really been, when I say a family realtor, in many ways I have been. I've seen children from the time before they were born grow up to buy houses from me, to their parents help their parents sell their parents' houses. So it's really, I consider myself a family realtor. Just like you'd have a family insurance person or a family lawyer.
Yeah.
I feel that I've known these families and they trust me with the ones that they love the most. So my business has grown as the houses have gotten bigger, and it's sometimes shrunk as my clients have gotten older or needed different needs and whatnot. So I've loved that part because no matter what stage I've been in, they've talked my language.
Yeah.
We have babies.
Great.
Our kids are going to college.
I know.
My husband's sick. All those.
So you're
all
going
those
through all
things.
that together.
Right. So I feel that I can help still the very first time buyer or the person whose parents passed away or their spouse passed away.
Yeah.
And, just really have a lot of empathy and support for whatever the situation.
Yeah.
Now, the industry has changed since the prehistoric days.
Oh, my goodness.
Not really,
right? Well, but yes, it has. has. So, back in the day, everybody worked for the seller. Then they introduced buyer agency, which, changes always, comes with resistance, always. Then that got very comfortable. And now this year we had change again. And I think that, the talk leading up to it, people were just not sure what to expect. And now that we've been into it for a few months, what is your opinion of our most recent changes to the industry?
I mean, change is inevitable. For me, in many ways, the way I've practiced real estate has not changed because there are some people who represent a buyer and they're so militant and they're not collaborative and they're not cooperative and they think that they're doing this buyer this best service by being adversarial. I'm protecting my client's rights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't work that way. I don't relate to that type of work. I work in a situation where I feel like if everybody can walk away feeling good about this deal, if the buyer feels good that they've just made this big purchase, if the seller feels good about the buyer moving into their house, that's what my goal is. So yes, I do protect whose ever interest, but I do it in such a way that it doesn't feel like they win at somebody else's loss.
Exactly.
Right,
There's
right.
no battle
That's
here.
like I don't want to spend my time feeling that way.
So the way that we run our business is a personal choice,
Right.
but then following the protocol of the industry.
Right.
And I guess that's where I was going with it. I personally, I now that we're into it, I kind of like it. I've gotten used to it. I'm good with it. But I wasn't sure what to expect.
We're still learning. I mean,
Yeah.
it's changed August 17th. And even though I've been in the business a really long time, I'm still learning. It's still changing. It's still evolving.
Doesn't that make it interesting, though? I mean,
It does make it interesting, but it's still, I still think that the most important tool that we have is our mouth and our heart and our hand. And those are the tools that you need to bring to the transaction. Yeah, so it's great that, you can have artificial intelligence,
Yes.
do this or do that. But it's, it's not going to say, I understand that you don't want a busy street. And this isn't a busy street. But, maybe if you just go around the corner on the sidewalk, your kid can ride their bike there. Or maybe, sort of understanding what's important. Because unfortunately, nobody gets it all.
Right.
But being able to help them get the most is really what we want to do.
Right. Yeah. Yep, totally agree.
This is great.
I know.
I feel like you could speak so easily on any topic on real estate. The education that you have, the collaboration that you have, and the loyalty to your clients. And you have a practice that is been straightforward since you decided to stay in business. And you have this huge, large team, which is doing phenomenal. And it's great. The information and the community base that you are, you're so community embedded, you're there helping all the time.
Well, I feel like you need to give back.
Yes.
I feel that I am been so grateful to live in the community that I live in, to work with the agents like yourselves that I am able to work with. I wouldn't know any other way not to give back. I would do anything for you two because our goals and our practice of business align and our code of ethics are in alignment. And I know that. And I know that if I call you and say, hey, I don't know, how to handle the situation, or you're an expert in this area, I am not. What do you think? That I will get 100% great advice. And I lean on you as you lean on me, and maybe it all changes.
I, for one, am grateful that I've had the opportunity to meet you, get to know you, and I actually thank Lana for that. I know you guys do a coaching team together, is our coaching group together, and again, that goes back to the constant learning and just evolving your business, but obviously maintaining that human element. I know you're super busy. I love that you took time for us today.
Yes.
You didn't hesitate when you were asked, and I thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you.
It's just the best. I watch your show all the time, and
good.
I'm so proud of you both. And I just wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
So we hope you've enjoyed this, and please like and subscribe. Let us know if there's any topics you would like for us to have on future episodes. And if you're looking for Lana and I, you can find us at Coldwell Banker in Leominster. And if you're looking for Laura B., you can find her and her team in Concord at Coldwell Banker.
We are affiliated with the Concord office and also the Carlisle office.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So-
Thanks for clearing that up.
Yes.
You'll find us or we'll find
You'll
you.
find us. That's it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.